What's up, everybody? Sudeep Tumma back here with another player film breakdown. This time we'll be looking at Jaden Ivey, the sophomore guard from Purdue, who's having an excellent season. Had some looks from the NBA. Could have been a late first round pick had he left last year after a tremendous postseason run where he ended the season pretty strong. But he had a few things to polish up, and I think it was a great decision to come back for his sophomore season, as we've really seen a bunch of guys do. In the one and done era, it's so appealing to leave. But this guy came back and he really worked on things. You see genuine improvement. Definitely a better playmaker, a much better shooter. In fact, a lethal shooter now, and a bunch of other traits that you really see. And when you talk about this guy, the number one thing you start with is his athleticism. You talk about John Morant, Russell Westbrook. This guy's in that class. He's a phenomenal athlete. Up there with Kendall Brown as the best athlete in this draft, in my opinion. Those two guys. But you talk about the athleticism, but what I love is the way he uses it. And we're going to see a couple clips on his driving ability, his finishing ability, which I think is just special. Has some things definitely to work on. He's not a fully finished product, which is kind of a scary thought when you're looking at this guy's portfolio. But here we'll see him here in a pick and roll. Zach Edey's going to be setting the pick, and you're going to see Ivey make a little move. And right here, I want you to look at this pick and roll defender, this guy over here. He's going to be in drop coverage, meaning he's playing down there because he's not worried about Zach Edey jump shot, and he's okay with pull up in the mid range. But he drops down. But Jaden Ivey doesn't just go full steam, right? He waits it out, he patiently drives, and he gets the defender to just get off his spot a little bit. Smart move here. Watch him, couple dribbles here. You know what? Let's look at the full play first, then we'll go back. Right here, right? Couple dribbles in. Bite and goes through. All right, let's take a look back. So what I love here, he's once Edey's setting that pick, he's coming down on the roll. So the drop coverage man right here, he can't really fully commit to either. Right now he's coming on to Ivey and hedging there only till Edey gets back, because like I said, he's not worried about the jump shot. He's worried about that roll. So Ivey just kind of slow plays him, takes a couple dribbles, gets him within close while keeping his head up, and as soon as right here puts that little swat in, but right here, this is exactly where he knows that big man is going to flip back to Edey. So what does he do? Waits for that. As soon as he clears, he attacks the crease. And this is something he does so well. And you watch here, right? His body control, his ability to contort and finish through contact is a special ability for him. And with his hang time, it's pretty impressive. But this is a theme that you kind of see with him a lot. His ability to attack angles and creases. He's not just a guy who just fully relies on athleticism and goes crazy all the time. But he is very patient and deliberate in his approach, especially when he does stuff like that, which I think makes it even harder to guard him. And over here, you'll see him over there on the wing, coming up, going to receive the ball. And this is what he does so well. He fits into, first off, this Purdue team that has it's a stacked roster. But he doesn't just need the ball in his hands all the time. He's comfortable playing on the perimeter, floating around, moving without the ball. And here, it's a simple little just catch, and then it'll be a pick, but he denies the pick. So Caleb first, who has the ball right here at the top of the key, will be handing it to Ivey. And then he comes and sets that pick on the right. But this is what I love from Ivey. It's the awareness and the feel. Now watch his defender over here. This dude in North Carolina, he's going to be setting up and come to that right side because he feels a pick and he doesn't want to go under the pick, so he's already going to be edging Ivey a one way, right? So what does he do? Watch him. Angles over there. So because of that, Ivey sees this entire area right here. That's just wide open for him to go. So what does he do? He attacks. Goes down, little hop step, and finish it through. And he makes it just look so easy. And over here, this is another thing that you really notice with him. His start-stop ability is excellent. Again, not just relying on his athleticism. I mean, this comes hand-in-hand with athleticism, but it's really the tools and the mixing it together. You'll see here, right? Pushing it down transition. Little stop. Stop again. Go. And then follow through and easy, right? I mean, when you do that, it makes it that much harder to guard him. And those are some of the things you just absolutely adore about him. And over here, this kind of goes a little hand in hand with the start stop. His ability to change pace is just so it speaks to his high IQ, it speaks to his understanding of the game, and it speaks to his ability to use body leverage. Not exactly in this scenario, but he can do that. He can put you to sleep a little bit. He can fill you out and attack those angles, and he does that with this, right? Watch him come down and transition. Again, he has the speed to just blow by you, but Over here, dribbles down, slows down just a little bit, crossover and attack, right? It's that little pace right there where he's just going sleep down a little bit. And right here, you see Zach 80 down in the middle, and he knows that defender's sealed off, or he's going to have that little pocket pass over there when he gets down into the drive. Ivy, that is. So he gets that crossover and attacks downhill. Easy basket. Now, this is phenomenal. 41% shooter. But what I love is, first off, the high volume of looks, but he is a range shooter. Look how far he's standing. He's going to shoot from there, believe it or not. He is an excellent spot up shooter. He gets the ball up relatively quickly, and he is not afraid to shoot it. You give him space, and even just, this is a lot of space, obviously. Even though he's standing all the way out there, he's willing to shoot. He's on the logo right now. Big logo, but still there. So yeah, he gets the pass here, and then right here. Look how much space he has. He's willing to shoot that. But what we'll look at here is his mechanics. Like I said, 41%. He's willing to take contested ones. He's willing to take them from range. Most of his looks are on spot up, catch and shoot looks. He's a little bit of the building up off the dribble, but not off intense looks really. It's a lot more subtle. His spot up is really where it's at. So we'll take a look at his mechanics, right? Pulls it up there, and it's a little interesting because you saw some of the vertical explosion that you always talk about with Jaden Ivey in the last few clips. And this reminds me of Tyrese Halliburton just a little bit, where Halliburton, you saw his feet weirdly pointed. You see his jumping seemingly 4 inches off the ground, but you just can't knock it when it's going in at the clip it is, and it translates to the NBA. Over here, same thing. He gets it up relatively quickly, right? But his shot release, I wouldn't say it's a bad release. I wouldn't say its mechanics are bad. It's still, he gets it up quickly enough. Again, right here you see it. The release point is not very high, but he gets it up, right? And he gets it off range, and from there he can drive. It's a great asset for him. And doesn't have too many, pump fakes look off of that where it works on spot up kind of looks. If you're closing out on him, he's just going to drive straight past you. And I guess that's something he can kind of work in and do very, very well. And I think that's something that could even improve as he gets to the NBA. But already, as a shooting guard, he does such a good job. And, he comes off pin downs. He moves at the ball, spaces out pretty well, and he gets those looks. He manufactures them a lot, and that just opens up his entire game and helps Purdue so much. And as we talked about with the spot-up looks, and the reason I use the word spot-up in that last clip is because of this. For as good as Ivy is, and for all the traits we talk about, his crazy ability to get downhill and attack, he's not much of a shot creator at this point. What does that mean? You're not going to see step backs much. You're not going to see fadeaways and off-balance jumpers pull up in the mid-range. He's just not very adept at that at this point. And that's okay. Not everyone's going to be developed when they come out. A lot of these guys are drafted on their upside, and don't get me wrong, he is immensely talented. But this is where he can, stand to improve. And the reason I say upside is because, when you see him get to his looks and take some of these, they're good areas, right? Like, this is where you want to see a guy pull up from, right? This is what you're talking about. As an NBA guard, especially in pick and roll situations, you need to have that mid-range pull up. As much as people want to say the mid-range is dead, you need it because of this. When you have that drop coverage and you have guys playing off you need to be able to pull up and make them pay for it. Otherwise, you're just trying to force things inside. Even Westbrook had to pull up mid-range at one point, but we'll not talk about that. All right, pulls up, misses, but this is something he needs to improve. And right now, like I said, 17 points a game, 17.7 right now. His game is heavily predicated on his athleticism. Even with the driving, you see some of the Euro steps and spin moves, but for the majority of it, it's really just, and I shouldn't bunk in and say, it's unpolished or something. You saw the start-stop. You saw the change of pace. That comes with, that in itself is a skill. That really just doesn't go with the skill moves that you see so often. But a lot of it is on athleticism, which is fine at this point, but, as he develops more of the skills and refine, it's just going to make him that much more difficult to guard. And, we talked about, the pin downs and moving without the ball, spacing out, which he does so well. And this goes hand in hand. He has such a great feel for when to cut and move without the ball. And over here, you'll see him. Travion Williams got the ball at the top of the key. That's a lot. And you're going to see, not a pick, but Jaden Ivey's going to walk toward the ball. And number 2 right here. Anthony Polite, I believe that is, for Florida State. This defender. Watch how he handles this. Now, like we talked about, what does the spot up shooting do for you? Makes defenders want to guard you farther out. So Polite is going to play a ball tonight, right? You see him right there. He comes from here, and he gets himself all the way out to the 3-point line. What does Jaden Ivey do? He sees it. So what does he do? He fills that out, and he bursts straight to the rim with his athleticism. A great pass also. But with his athleticism and his feel, his IQ, and his ability to feel those cuts out, it's impossible. For anyone, when guys are falling asleep and you make those backdoor cuts, it doesn't matter how athletic you are. It doesn't. But when you are that athletic, just that defender has to work that much harder to get back to you, and it just makes it that much easier. Now, I talked on the beginning how he is a much improved passer. That was kind of one of the criticisms, that he's much more of a scorer his freshman year, but he is up to 3-point-something assists per game. But it's things like this. When he's doubled, when defenses rotate over to him and they leave a weak side guy, he can make passes. He can make those cross-court skip passes. You see that here a little bit, not fully a skip pass, but he gets the ball out. You see a lot of this, and he's got very good vision. It's not just, when the defense collapses, he sees it. He's got vision. He uses head fakes really well, and he looks off defenders. Things that you really look for from a point guard. Now, personally, I don't think he can play point guard just yet, just because his overall feel and pulse for it. I think he might play some of it, and as development goes on, but much better suited to be a shooting guard at this point. But one who can pass, right, and one who can make plays, and that's what you want a lot of times. And over here, you'll see that as he penetrates into the paint. First thing you'll see is his ability in transition. This is just raw athleticism. Watch him just get down, right? I mean, my goodness. And then from there, and he gets into the teeth of the defense. The defense doesn't fully rotate and squeeze on him, but because of that, wide open 3-point shooter. And this guy is an excellent 3-point shooter. And from there, I mean, look where he is, right? This is like prime time ball going to the basket. Eyes don't see this too much. But Ivey gets that ball out. And easy basket. And he does a lot of these things, and he does it a lot very, very well. And I think it's another boost to his overall game where you can't just force him. You can't double him relentlessly without worrying about the consequences. You're going to have to double him anyway because he's such a proficient and spectacular scorer. But it's a lot of that. Again, we're using the word upside. The thing with Ivey, 5.1 rebounds a game, it's a little inconsistent. Not the rebounding numbers, but the effort. It's sometimes he'll crash in and go. Sometimes he'll rely on his athleticism and his length, 6'10" wingspan. He's got a lot of that. Boxes out sometimes, and it's kind of an inconsistent sort of thing. Doesn't crash the offensive glass so much. And we've seen from a guy like Russell Westbrook, averaging the triple doubles, 10 plus rebounds per game for so many years. A lot of that just comes down to effort. He's got that athletic body, which helps him, but he's running in and getting it. And obviously, that athleticism, that vertical, that length helps him so much. So for Ivey, it's all those traits that are there. And if you see him crash the glass more, he can really be an elite guard rebounder, I believe. And watch it here, right? Ball goes up again, not in position, not boxing out, and that's not his fault in this play. That's just kind of how everything came together. But you see him here, right? The ball goes up. It's North Carolina defender. That should be his ball. But Ivey, so athletic. You see the vertical here, just snatches it out of the air. Like, look at that. That should not be his ball. But he's able to do some of that, and that's what he can rely on a little bit more on his athleticism when it comes to rebounding. But as he really squeezes out the technique and crashes more and more, rebounding's effort. It really is. But as he really squeezes that out more, he's going to get even better in that department. And over here, when Jaden Ivey is locked in, he is locked in. He is a hounding, harassing defender, and you're going to see some of that here. He's got some of those great traits, the lateral quickness, the length, obviously. But you watch it here, right? Just staying with you, right? And getting up in your face, and obviously the defender loses the ball a little bit here, but you see it a lot. He's pesky. He's on you. He's locked in. When he's locked in, and his defensive intensity, I don't think squeezes off too much, but times like this, you see it, and you see him really into it and does a great job. And the athleticism, the lateral quickness helps him a lot in plays like this one. You're going to see Ivy here at the top, guarding Caleb Mills, who is Florida State's best player. And just watch the lateral quickness downhill and the length and the block. Right? Steps with him, step for step, blocks him out. And as you talk about, right, he's got a lot of those traits as a defender, when you have that lateral quickness and you have that length and you have that body, it's already upside for someone who's not good at defense. This guy's already a very good defender, and he can do some of those things, and the length always makes up for it. You can squeeze here and there and move, and you see him when he's locked in. He is a very good defender and helps him a lot. So I think you really get a lot of traits with Jaden Ivey. And defense is that. On offense, we talked about it, right? The ability to tackle the rim, to get downhill, the athleticism, the shooting ability right now. And it's going to get better because there are still holes that need to be filled and will be filled, which, again, scary thought right now. There are obviously some issues. Talk about biggest one, I think, plays a little out of control here and there. While he does have good patience and understands when to attack, a lot of times with the change of pace and so on, there are times where he relies so much on his athleticism. And like I said before, with the Euro step and spin moves, he's got some of those, but he relies more on his athleticism. And that kind of, squeezes into his overall boat where he may rely on that so much and just be going, out of control so much because he can get away with it so many times. But sometimes you see turnovers or, charges picked up because of that. But those are things you learn in the NBA and as time goes on. But overall, like I talked about, the shot creating as well, that's going to be something that improves. But he is a very good prospect, the best guard in this class by far. Right now, probably, Jabari, Paolo, and Chet should be the top 3 picks. But, when it's all said and done, especially if a team needs a guard, this guy, in a guard-driven league, this guy is worth the pick. He really is. Jaden Ivey is going to be special, and it's honestly a lot of fun to watch him. And if you haven't this year, I very much recommend you tune into a Purdue game. They are, I believe, 2 or 3 in the country right now. They are a very, very good team. But that's the wrap on Jaden Ivey. Full scouting report will be on dbl-coverage.com pretty soon. You can check that out for even more in depth on Jaden Ivey and all other sort of content and scouting reports and such on other guys. But thank you for listening. Like and subscribe if you like the video, and I hope you all have a great day.